What's the dumbest thing you got in trouble for in school? Story 1. I had this demon teacher in 6th grade who was extremely condescending and unreasonable, who was very strict about writing in pencil only. Since we were allowed to use pens in pretty much every other class, there was one day I accidentally used a pen in her class. When she asked me if I was using a pen, I looked down at my writing and for some reason thought I had been writing in pencil, so I said no before realizing my mistake, and I guess that just really set her off, and she made me stand up in front of the class while she yelled at me for lying to an adult. I was super close to crying and absolutely furious at her, but there was nothing I could do since she was an adult and I wasn't, so therefore she must have been right. To top it off, I was the quiet girl who never said a thing. In fact, I made sure to never say a thing since this teacher would usually find a way to use it as an opportunity to embarrass or belittle me. Honestly, there's been dumber things that I've gotten into trouble with before because of her, but this one's the one that affected me the most. I really hope she's not out there terrorizing innocent 12-year-olds anymore. People like this is why Dolores Umbridge is the most hated villain of them all. We haven't faced a Voldemort, but everyone sure as crap has faced the petty tyrant who bullies kids relentlessly as a way to enjoy themselves. Story 2. Our school had this stupid rule where you weren't allowed to go to the bathroom during the last 5 minutes of class. Lo and behold, we are 5 minutes away from the bell when I suddenly break out in cold sweats, and I get that dreadful rumble in my guts. It's explosive diarrhea time. I asked to go to the toilet, denied. I just yelled, "Emergency!" and ran out of the class. I got to the loo, did the patented move of rolling my pants down, transition into sitting down before losing 5 pounds in 15 seconds, using this one simple trick. Doctors hate this guy. After cleaning up, I went back to collect my stuff from the classroom and to apologize to my teacher, but she had already written me up for it. Now what makes this even stupider is that, in my country, we start school at 7. We do 4 years of elementary school, 3 years of primary school, and 5 years of high school. This happened in my senior year. I was 19 years old. I was, by legal definition, a grown man. I wasn't going to crap my pants because of a stupid 5-minute rule. Should have crapped your pants. I get it, you're not going to crap your pants in class, but you should have crapped your pants. Story 3. When I was in grade 3, a friend of mine got bullied by people I knew from daycare. They cut her hair, her belts, and just continuously called her names. By the end of recess, she was in tears, bringing her to the office. At that point, the principal pinned the whole dang thing on me because apparently they took my scissors to do this to her. The school got everyone's side, and none of them even included my name. At one point, the principal even asked me, "So what role did you play in this?" To which I responded, "Nothing." I had literally just walked her to the office to get her help. They wound up calling my mom anyway and telling her I was the ringleader of this whole event and made me sit in the office all afternoon until 4 p.m., at which point my daycare supervisor got me and gave me a hug. I spent the rest of the night in tears and nearly wound up grounded. Apparently my mom started out extremely ticked off at me until her friends and my daycare supervisor told her to ask me my side first because that would be completely out of character for me. Always had trouble trusting the school system after that. Story 4. Reading a book. I would finish my work in class and pull out a book to read and be told to put it away and lay my head down if I'm done. They would rather have me just lay my head down and stare at a wall than continue to learn through reading. A runner-up, my homework slipped off my desk and got sucked into one of those stupid, huge air conditioner units. The teacher didn't believe me, so I had to stick my hand up the vent of this thing and try to fish it out. I have no idea how dangerous this was, but it doesn't seem like a good idea now. I managed to get it, and it was torn down the middle with a huge grease stain. He made me stay after class and redo it, and I narrowly avoided detention, all because a piece of paper slipped off my desk. A friend of mine got yelled at for reading in English class. She finished a test early, because she's brilliant, and pulled out whatever Dostoevsky she was reading for fun. Apparently she was distracting other students. Our nutty teacher was the one distracting us. Story 5. This happened in 10th grade during lunch break. I had borrowed my friend's notebook the previous day and was trying to give it back to him. Now, because the break just started, the whole class was on their feet and moving around. So I decided to frisbee that notebook to him. He was sitting a row aside and on the second last bench, no one between us. A teacher who didn't teach us happened to pass by the door exactly at that time and noticed this. She came inside our class and started slapping me, left and right, until I burst out crying. Her point being, I disrespected the notebook because it had the goddess of education, Saraswati, Hindu goddess, residing in it. I cried really hard because those were really hard slaps, and also because it happened in front of the class. My dad was furious when he heard about it. He took me to school the next day, which was a Saturday, an off day for us, but working for teachers, and he told me to wait outside the staff room. He went inside and screamed at her furiously. Story 6. When I was in primary school, I had really bad social anxiety, so my teacher allocated a small table outside the classroom where I could go if I was having a panic attack. This was somewhat effective until I got a new teacher who would send me out to the table at the slightest provocation. Fiddling with my hair, jogging my leg, or smiling when I thought of something funny all got me a trip to the table. She didn't do this to anyone else. They would stand in the corner of the classroom if they got in trouble. She would also write every trip to the table in my diary as a panic attack or poor behavior, which meant my anxiety medication dosage was changed. Eventually, the system stopped working altogether as the table was more of a punishment and being sent to it would worsen any stress I was experiencing. That's horrible. It seems that the teacher was bullying you because you were vulnerable. Story 7. Crying. It was my first day of school at a new school, 5th grade. Some kids wouldn't let me play with them at recess. The girl who was supposed to show me around and be my friend for the day completely abandoned me. I was overwhelmed, and I hadn't wanted to move schools at all. I go in for recess, still upset and by myself, and Miss Witch over here takes me outside the class to lecture me for crying, saying she doesn't like crying and doesn't enjoy having to deal with it. I have no reason to cry, etc., literally just making me even more upset. Does not even try to ask why I'm crying. Everybody in the classroom could hear what she was saying. I hope that witch is having a bad time. She probably hated her life then, and hates it more now. If you don't like crying, what the frick are you doing in an elementary school? Frick her. Story 8. My friend has diabetes, and when we were in school, I sat next to him in class. He told me his blood sugar was really low, and he felt faint. He didn't want to leave class, so I offered to give him my banana. So I gave it to him, and the teacher scolded me for taking out food in class. She sent me to the principal's office even after I told her the reason for it. The principal teacher just didn't care, and told me just chill here until the bell rings. I'll never know why Mrs. Henderson was so angry. In grade 12, a classmate was eating a banana in class. Technically not allowed, but no big deal. Teacher stops class, calls his dad from the in-class phone. I don't know how she had the number memorized, and we all got to enjoy half a conversation that went like, No, I'm not going to apologize. It's a banana. Story 9. My English professor freshman year failed me for literally no reason. Every assignment I turned in failed. I even made revisions using her suggestions, and then she would say the revisions made it worse. Well, after losing financial aid for failing a class, I emailed my professor and asked why I failed, and stated why I shouldn't have failed and how I felt she didn't grade me fairly. She sent me a 4-page email saying I was harassing her, and she reported me to the dean for harassment. Nothing ever came of it, but I never got financial aid again and had to pay for the rest of school out of pocket. I retook the class with a different professor and turned in the exact same assignments that I did the first time I took it, passed the class with 100%. Story 10. A kid threw a pencil at someone else, missed, and impaled my hand when I went to block my face. Teacher saw the pencil sticking out of my hand and gave me detention for fighting. I still have a small graphite chunk in my finger that you can see with a flashlight. Different teacher told us to get parent permission forms signed to watch a movie. She lost mine, blamed me, and made me have detention for the day while the class watched the movie. She found it at the end of the year behind a filing cabinet I couldn't possibly reach. Blamed me for putting it there. I have tons of stories like these. Bad teachers, different schools. Most should have been fired, but they had tenure. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of this video and have a wonderful day. Story 11. I walked into the showers in the locker room before gym class, fully clothed with shoes on and everything. I had just never seen in that area before. Showers weren't running. That's literally it. Got yelled at and got detention for it because apparently we weren't supposed to be in there. This happened at my school too. A couple of kids would stand by the showers after they changed because the room was so crowded. They were given 50% for the marking period, and they put a fence up and chained it shut. 'cause it's so smart to force a bunch of sweaty little teenagers to stand on top of each other when we only have 3 minutes to change/clean up before the bell. Story 12. This might be common, but my high school had a very odd attendance policy. If you were late to school 3 times, you would immediately get detention. I had detention once because of this, and I decided it wasn't for me. So anytime I knew I was going to be late, I'd just skip. If you missed enough, they'd put you on a medical watch sort of thing that would require a doctor's excuse. But you had to miss a lot of school for that to happen. So senior year, I spent a lot of days hanging out at home or at my friend's house playing Mario Kart because the school rewarded absenteeism or tardiness. Mine has the same policy. Story 13. Washing dishes. I had a food and nutrition class where, on cooking days, each person had a job. On the day in question, my job was washing dishes. Our classroom had 3 kitchens, but only 2 sinks, and the kitchen I was working in had a sink, but shared with the kitchen without. The people working in the kitchen without a sink just started dumping their dishes in my sink. No big deal, I just washed them. Only to be chewed out by the teacher and sent to the office because how else would the people working in the kitchen without the sink learn how to wash dishes if I did it for them? Story 14. Happened in primary school. We were taking a break from our boys' dance group, and I went into the toilets to take a crap. Went into a cubicle, and another boy from the same group was peeing. However, he felt like I invaded his privacy by walking in on his unlocked cubicle. He was also facing away from me, obviously, so I saw nothing. He complained and cried to the teacher, accusing me of perving, and I was told off for harassment. I also didn't get the free ice block that we'd usually get after each practice. To this day, I still hate that kid. Yeah, he's definitely a donghead for that one. Story 15. High school, late 90s, we just got the internet. This was the early days of the internet where any random or innocent search could still bring up corn. Well, it happened to me. Our history class had the computer lab. Corn came up on my screen, immediately sent to the office. They did not believe me that it was an accident, but I'd never been in trouble before. I was suspended the rest of the day. I just went home. Then it started happening to other students and teachers. Then they finally put filters on the computers, but I was never apologized to. Frickin' whitehouse.com would get kids every time. Story 16. I used to draw 80s metal band names on my binder in middle school. Metallica, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses, and I got reported by another student that I worship Satan because of this. Got called into the vice principal's office, binder confiscated, was told never to draw band names like that again. There was a period of time at my high school where we couldn't wear band shirts because of supposed gang activity. There'd be kids walking around in full blue/red, throwing up gang signs and threatening people, but sure, me and the rest of the Arctic Monkeys are about to throw down and cause a ruckus. Story 17. I got in trouble for saying out loud that I didn't like someone. Her friend overheard, told our teacher, and for the next 3 days, we all had to spend our recess talking about why I didn't like that person, because she makes a big deal out of silly things like this that cause everyone to miss out on recess. Also, people are allowed to not like other people. It happens. If you're not being mean about it, I don't understand why it's a problem. Story 18. A friend of mine once got a note for his parents to sign that said, Mike is stretching his nostrils with the tip of a scissor during class. He had put a tip of the scissor in each nostril and carefully opened the scissors so that his nostril stretched. The teacher understood the ridiculousness of the note, but made it anyway because having the parents read about such ridiculous behavior from their son was the best way to make him see that he was an idiot. Story 19. In 2nd grade, a boy who didn't like me told the teacher that I was taking rocks out of my pockets and throwing them at him during recess. I was brought to the principal's office and told to apologize to him, where I started crying and showed them I didn't even have pockets. I was wearing leggings. I still had to apologize. Having to apologize for something you never did was the worst and most annoying thing as a kid. Story 20. I was kicked out of my geometry class and was given a referral that said, do not return to class until a parent-teacher conference is scheduled. This all happened because I had the wrong size paper. This teacher wanted everyone to have 8.5 by 11, and I had 8 by 10.5. I kept getting 50% credit on every assignment because I had the wrong size paper. I finally told her I'm not buying all new paper because you want to be special. Story 21. You know how if you hang around someone for a while, you start speaking like them? Well, in primary school, everyone said yous instead of something like you guys. My mom hated it and would correct me. So one day in class, some girls asked me and my friend, "Can you pass me the scissors?" And I, an intellectual, said, "Use our sheep." She cried, told the teacher, and I got detention. Story 22. Skipping school. Punished by being suspended from school. Brilliant plan. Those extra hours of World of Warcraft really showed me. Similarly, I got detention for not doing my homework. That is, I wasn't being productive enough with my time. In detention, you couldn't do anything except stare into nothingness. So when I got home, I had even less time to do homework. Story 23. My bus driver only drove us half the way to school, despite me paying a full fare. Whilst he was upstairs evicting everyone from the bus, I took my money back from his cash register. Not only did I get in trouble with the school, I received a police caution. I call it dumb because it was pretty freaking stupid of me. Story 24. During PE class in year 5, I said testicles in a childish conversation with 2 friends. A fellow classmate nearby overheard me saying that and decided to do me in. Later on, my grumpy teacher ridiculed me in front of the class. Unsurprising, seeing as we both weren't really fond of each other. Story 25. In my forensics class, we were looking at hairs under microscopes and discussing their different traits. I raised my hand and asked where the change occurs between stomach hairs and pubes. My teacher flipped out and kicked me out of the class. My response was, "What's the answer to the question?" Story 26. I was sitting on a big trash can, and the principal walked up and told me to get down. I did. Then he asked, "Do you sit on furniture at your house?" I looked at him kind of puzzled and said, "Yes." He gave me detention for answering a question about sitting on furniture at my house. Story 27. Last year in the cafeteria, I was lined up to buy pizza, and my vice principal was selling it. I gave my money, took my pizza, and left. Later on in the day, I got called into the office, and he said he didn't feel respected by me because I never said please or thank you, and got a 3-day suspension. Story 28. Standing up to a bully. Came in from recess after he'd pushed, pinched, pulled, laughed at, and threatened multiple people. I stood up from my chair, pointed at him, and said, "If you ever touch me again, I'll..." Then turned around to see the teacher watching. I got a spanking. Story 29. My teacher once asked us to write down our favorite thing to do. I wrote, "sleeping with my mom." This resulted in a meeting with my parents. I was in 2nd grade. I obviously just meant cuddling and taking a nap. My mom thought that the teacher was insane. Story 30. We were on summer school camp, and I was asleep in a girl's cabin. The other girls had let a boy in and got busted by the teachers guarding outside. I had to come back to school in the summer for a week to water the principal's plants and do other chores. Story 31. Wearing colored socks. I got sent to the principal's office where they called my parents and asked them to get me a pair of white socks. Needless to say, my parents were both working, so I was stuck roaming around the school sockless. Story 32. Got yelled at during a physics class because I was the first to stand up to go start the lab we were doing. 7 to 8 other kids were midway through standing up, but because I was the first, I had to get yelled at for 5 minutes in front of everyone. Story 33. I called a kid who was bullying me in 6th grade a frick face and got in-school suspension. The ISS lady was nice about it though. She basically told me, "Hey, the frick face had it coming." She did not actually say frick face. Story 34. My school had a no-touching policy, so I got in trouble for hugging my best friend in the hallway. My teacher sent me to the principal's office for saying a swear word that rhymes with sit. I was trying to say sit. I had a speech impediment. Dang, that sucks. Story 35. Reading Lord of the Flies. Teacher felt it wasn't appropriate. They kind of learned that my mother was not someone to be messed with after that. Love when teachers try to impose their own morality on students. Story 36. I asked how bananas reproduce. My teacher didn't find it appropriate. It was in biology class. I will never understand how some teachers are just unable to laugh at funny crap. Such a miserable life to live. Story 37. Not having the same political opinions as one of my teachers. I got a call home to my parents, but lucky me since my parents understood how silly the complaints were. Story 38. Someone accidentally broke a window. He made no attempt to hide and admitted fault immediately. The whole class got Saturday detention. That's so stupid. Story 39. Wearing shoes without laces. They were closed, but apparently they must also lace. I got sent home for not having laces. Story 40. Not me, but a teacher, male, at our school, got in trouble for holding the door open for another teacher, female. Story 41. Leaving the classroom to pee because the teacher said no. Apparently he knew my body better than I did. Story 42. I called this kid a trapezoid in 2nd grade. He was very upset and got me in trouble. Story 43. Given an after-school detention for whistling. I can't whistle. Story 44. Literally looking at someone. Apparently it was aggressive. Story 45. Going to the bathroom during lunch. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.